When looking around their classrooms, educators might notice their student populations becoming increasingly more diverse. The number of students whose first language or home language is something other than English has risen nationally through the years. This leaves teachers wondering what tools and strategies they might use in order to better support these students. Many teachers feel overwhelmed by paperwork, lack of training, overcrowded classrooms, and standardized testing that always seems to be looming overhead. This often leads teachers to feel they have little time to do anything other than facilitating learning through lectures, textbooks, and worksheets, even though research has shown that this type of instruction is not as effective at supporting learners as active, student-led instruction. Many schools have cut arts programs entirely in an effort to focus more on academically rigorous content. However, implementation of drama-based activities has been shown to increase vocabulary, pronunciation, fluency, comprehension, confidence, communication, problem-solving skills, and more. Drama-based activities actively facilitate verbal and nonverbal communication between students, a critical skill in developing fluency for native and non-native speakers. Incorporating these activities into your classroom costs nothing and is accessible even for teachers who don't have a performance background. Don't know where to start? Some of the easiest and most effective drama-based activities include role-playing, pantomime, improvisation, either spontaneous or prepared, and script writing. Keep in mind that these activities are not meant to create trained actors, but to reinforce your core content using the art form. Classrooms that utilize role-playing might see both the teacher and students in role as they demonstrate a process or scenario or imagine alternate outcomes. This active participation in the drama process helps students process knowledge spatially, psychologically, mentally, socially, and personally. Research shows that this kind of learning helps develop empathy, imagination, internalization, participation, self-esteem, self-actualization, and more, which are skills that help lead learners through the process of learning and acquiring a new language. Pantomime promotes nonverbal communication through performance and verbal communication through the brainstorming, rehearsal, and feedback process. Multilanguage learners often thrive on being able to show their learning instead of telling during a performance. However, use of collaboration and practice in their L2 is still required when working with peers to develop and refine the performance. Peers and/or the instructor become part of the learning process when they observe and give feedback regarding the clarity of ideas and characters in the performance. Improvisations can either be spontaneous and created in the moment or prepared through a rehearsal process. A prepared improvisation would be practiced among students and would replace the need of a script. Improvisations might seem daunting, but they actually allow for endless learning and language possibilities. Through utilizing improvised activities, students are able to think creatively and lead the learning experience by being able to insert many personal choices. This deepens the learning through effective engagement and often improves memory. For example, if students were studying the story Hansel and Gretel, the teacher might ask them to work with a group to perform the beginning, middle, or end of the story in order to practice sequencing. To extend the learning, the instructor might ask the students to choose one of the siblings to portray, and to then get with a partner to improvise a conversation between the siblings. It could be inspired by a moment from the story, or it could be an imagined interaction that took place before the story began. The instructor could also ask students to act out an activity they like to do with their siblings or friends. The students might even be asked to act out the moment of first meeting the witch. How would you feel? What would you do? By using improvised activities like these, students are able to call on their own experiences in order to actively create new connections with the text. Script writing can be a fun way for students to practice their writing skills and knowledge of story structure. Utilizing these classroom dramatizations helps appeal to all learning styles when children are asked to write a script, reading and writing, select music or sound to complement the mood or theme, auditory, create design elements, visual, and then perform the piece, kinesthetic. Scripted performances are also helpful for language learners. When the text is already written, students are able to focus more on fluency, vocabulary, pronunciation, and the register the character might speak in order to convey the meaning and intention of the dialogue. Drama-based activities also allow the instructor to quickly assess many students at once during a performance, and students can observe and learn from peer performances. They can even engage in written or verbal peer critiques. Participating in drama-based activities allows students to physicalize the language in action, which helps them better understand and synthesize content. Using our bodies and voices together boosts comprehension and memory. An 8-week study conducted in 2019 among 40 Arabic 6th grade girls learning English found that those who were taught their language content using drama-based activities significantly improved their English proficiency levels compared to the students who were exclusively taught language using traditional methods. In this study, the primary drama activity used was role play, and the researchers observed that student talk dominated the classroom. Students were sharing ideas and performances, which facilitated student-to-student communication and also promoted student bonding. Students who didn't typically interact together were seen working and performing together. There were also increased student-to-teacher interactions and communications, which strengthened relationships and allowed instructors to facilitate learning in new ways. These structured opportunities to engage in academic talk are essential to building language fluency and comprehension. Researchers indicated that this active participation led to increased spontaneity, empathy, and speaking fluency, and that there were very few instances of disengagement. The teachers and researchers in this study did mention a few challenges to implementing these activities, however. Instructors who are used to teacher-led learning were more likely to have a difficult time managing student behavior. They noticed their classrooms become louder and worried that uninterested students would goof off during what could be considered unstructured activities. But while drama-based activities should be interactive, fun, and engaging, they should not be unstructured. The student should lead the learning experience, but the instructor still acts as a guide, supporting and coaching along the way. It's okay for the working volume of a classroom to increase as long as students are actively engaged in their work. Noise-canceling headphones can be a helpful investment for students with sensory issues. Regarding the fear that some uninterested students may misbehave, if the activity is supported and provides a variety of learning opportunities and ways to respond, studies show that behavior issues will be much smaller than those that stem from teacher-led activities or silent independent work. The drama activity should not be seen as play or recess time, but a formal learning activity, meant to engage students by drawing on their personal relevant experiences and thoughts. It may take some time for students and teachers to get used to the new procedures they might use for participating in drama activities, but research shows that implementing these practices into your classroom will help support native and non-native speakers in developing language proficiency and fluency.